Hi everybody, welcome back. Like I mentioned in the last video, this is the other half of that video just because I didn't want to, drag it out a whole lot. Just because, you know how that is, you get to watching a video, sometimes they go over, and they're longer than you want them to be. I cut this in half just because I'm going to be talking about something that's related to what I was talking about with Bloody Mary in the last video. I mentioned it, when I was talking about the game Ghost in the Mirror from the book More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. It was La Llorna. La Llorna, in case you're wondering, it's one of those urban legends. And this story, as I mentioned from reading about it in the Ghost in the Mirror game from Alvin Schwartz in the last video, it's about this woman, out west in like Texas and California and Mexico about, this woman whose baby or child is kidnapped and, murdered by somebody. Then the lifeless child is found floating in some body of water like a river, and the woman goes crazy and starts wandering around looking for a replacement child for the one that was tragically murdered. Of course, there's, another version of the story that is, the woman was severely depressed that the child's biological father wouldn't acknowledge the child as being his child, because the father was married to another lady and the child was illegitimate, or the father just didn't want to accept the responsibility of being the child's father. Therefore, in a fit of depression, the woman goes in the local river with the child, and the woman ends up, drowning both herself and the child in the river. And after the woman and the child are both dead, it is said that the woman roams the streets of the surrounding towns and cities looking for her missing child. In both versions of the story, it is said that if the ghost of the woman was to find a child out at night by itself, the ghostly woman will spirit that child away, mistaking that child for the one that the woman so tragically lost in the river. Also, it's, goes back with, calling her up in the mirror, like if you were to do, like, how Alvin Schwartz described it in, Ghost in the Mirror from More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Like I mentioned before, this story about La Llorna is mainly told out west. Even though I've heard, the story here in northern Kentucky a few times, the story is almost never really, like, locally told here. Most of the stories here in Kentucky, it usually involves, like, situations like that where, like, the mom just jumps into the river with the baby, but it's, she doesn't go, like, wandering around, looking for the child. It's usually the mom and the baby in the river, the baby crying and the mom looking for the baby, or the mom crying, or both crying, and usually that's, like, in southern Kentucky. But anyway, I want to pause here and talk about a haunted bridge, story. Okay, so hang on.